yourself, it's your time to bleed. No one believed they would strike so deep. Not Tel Aviv, but in the dead of night with no warning, the sky lit up. The world watched in celebration as the Iron Dome crashed. And in that moment, the balance of power began to shift. This is what you get for all your evil deeds. You brought this upon yourself, it's your time to bleed. This is what you get for all your evil deeds. You brought this upon yourself, it's your time to bleed.
Hello, Nacho. Hello. How you doing? And yeah, folks, boom, boom, Tel Aviv. Amazing, you've even got Korean all-girl bands doing cover versions of that song now. Crazy how that works out. Genocide certainly does have blowback. And what an interesting world we're moving into, folks. Very, very dangerous world. Not that this hasn't been planned. I mean, we knew for a long time that they had plans to start World War III. Actually, it's even mentioned in the Epstein files.
I just found this email in the Epstein files, okay? It's literally to Jeffrey Epstein from James Hayward. Listen to this. We need to discuss World War III. The investors want to know if we are still planning February 8th, 2026. Please be advised that I am on vacation till July 29th. I will be attempting to be off-grid. That email was written in July of 2018.
Yeah, how about that, huh? July 2018. Are we still set? The investors want to know if we're still set for World War III to be kicked off in February 2026. Interesting how that works. But there's always wild cards in these situations. Now, looking at this whole thing, the way it's gone down, sure, World War III has kicked into place, but I don't think it's actually going the way they planned for it to go. I think they underestimated what Iran has done to prepare itself for this war. Not to say that Iran wasn't part of the control grid, the Iranian government wasn't part of the control grid, in as much as Iran, like everybody else, wants this surveillance grid in place. They want to be leading, or at least a forerunner at the forefront of this technological war. They want to have mass surveillance and the smart grid and the cashless society and all that sort of stuff, sure. But it's a different culture. I mean, an Arab culture, there's no usury, there's no tax. So, and there's no usury on loans and things. That's why so many influencers go to Dubai, because it's tax-free. There's no interest on loans and you don't pay tax on your income. So that's the sort of stuff they want to stamp out. And you look at Iran. Iran is kind of a wild card in this player. I mean, America has been given this whole perception of what the Middle East is like, based on mainly Israeli intelligence. They fought wars in Afghanistan, wars in Iraq, wars in Libya, wars in Syria, just to kind of prep for this. But Iran is none of the above. And Iran has sat back and it has watched what the United States and this whole, shall we call it the Epstein bloc, has done when they've brought down other countries. And they realise that if you have a central leader, then that makes you vulnerable. All they've got to do is kill the leader and it's over and done. This is what they've just done with Hezbollah and stuff in Lebanon. Took out the leadership. It's why they took out certain people in Gaza, like Sinwar, and people in Qatar that they struck. They said they were going for the Hamas leadership because then the people have no way of functioning without getting orders. But Iran is prepared for this, and I think Iran is a wild card in the whole thing, and they've completely underestimated what Iran is capable of. And even now, Donald Trump wanting a ceasefire, he says that he doesn't, but he does. He's trying to get a ceasefire because he's desperate. And as far as Trump goes, I think Trump is a puppet in all of this. He's been a puppet of Israel the whole time. He's completely subservient to Benjamin Netanyahu, even more so since the fake assassination. And many people, there's a rabbi talking about it, how his right ear was pierced so that he would become a willing servant of his master.
President Trump's right ear was grazed in a symbolic gesture of Exodus 21:6, where the Torah states that a servant who wants to remain with his master needs to have his right ear pierced. Trump was designated as God's servant and anointed one, just like Cyrus the Great almost 2,400 years ago.
His master probably being someone like Bibi Netanyahu or some rabbi above him. But essentially a puppet for the state of Israel and a servant to the state of Israel, like Cyrus the Great, a Persian emperor that existed before him. I think he was an emperor. He was Persian anyway. But and Trump's role was to usher in the new Jewish Messiah. But they've underestimated what Iran's role in this is. They thought they would just be able to start this war with Iran and everyone would rally behind it because they've spent the last 50, 60 years vilifying Muslims. And there's nothing wrong with Muslims, folks. Muslim countries have been bombed for years and years. Most of the terror attacks that you see around the world are actually staged by Israel, and they're blamed on Muslims. I would suggest even that most of the prayers that you see in the street and all this sort of stuff that's done to intimidate the Western world, I would suggest this is all organised by Zionists as well. I wouldn't be surprised if most of the people participating in those mass outdoor Muslim prayer sessions are actually Jews. Because who benefits from doing this? Who benefits in any of this stuff? What is the result of Muslims getting out, or men getting out there in Muslim outfits and doing these mass prayer sessions in the street and blocking off traffic and all that sort of stuff? Who benefits from that? What result occurs from that? Well, people hate Muslims and they want the West to hate Muslims so they can have this war so that people will back it. They want every country cheering Trump on because he's gone to attack Iran, and Iran is responsible for funding all these people that are coming to Western countries and shit. No, all the people coming to Western countries are funded by Israeli NGOs, and I would suggest that most of the people participating in these mass prayer rallies, or at least organising them, are all Jews or crypto Jews. It's all organised to benefit Israel and to turn the West against Islam, because that's the only way they can have their big depopulation war, is if the Christians and the Muslims hate each other. So it's all been done for a reason. But like I said, they've underestimated Iran. I don't think they planned for this at all, because Tel Aviv is getting absolutely flattened. There are areas of Tel Aviv that now look like Gaza. Yeah, and this is real video footage from Tel Aviv. There's been a lot of fake stuff coming out, fake airstrikes, fake this, fake that. But this is what's happening in Tel Aviv. Iran's been firing ballistic missiles at them. Around about 60 waves now, or 65 waves of missiles have come. I mean, the amount of waves a day varies, and they're generally 6 or 7 waves a day, or sometimes less, sometimes more. But there's generally, varying. There's 20 to 100 missiles in each wave. Each missile has 20 to 80 warheads on it that spread out to a radius of about 6 to 8 kilometers. So, and they've been pounding Israel like this. There have been 64 waves or 65 waves of missiles now sent to Tel Aviv from Iran. So this is doing a lot of damage. It's doing a lot of damage. They've been piercing bomb shelters, bringing down buildings. It's like I said, it's beginning to look like Gaza, as you could see from that footage. And it would appear that they have actually killed Benjamin Netanyahu. There's been a few videos come out in the last few days. All of them are AI, all of them. There was one where he was at a coffee shop. What would he be doing at a coffee shop, which is like 70 miles away or something from Tel Aviv? What's he up there getting coffee on a relaxed afternoon, looking like he's just there enjoying the weekend?
גם אתם תמשיכו להישמע להוראות פיקוד העורף, כל הזמן, להישמע להוראות פיקוד העורף, וגם לראשי הערים, להיות תמיד ליד מרחב מוגן. אנחנו נקל ככל שהדבר ניתן. ותודה לך על הקפה, הוא מצוין. אני לא יודע לגבי הקלוריות, זה נראה לי מסוכן מאוד.
There's a war going on, he wouldn't be there, it's ridiculous. There was another one where he was at a lookout, and you could see that the ring disappears from his finger for a second. Yeah, and that other one at the coffee shop, there's a part where he puts his hand in his pocket, and the pocket basically jumps and morphs to fit his hand.
אנחנו נקל ככל שהדבר ניתן.
And then there's another one where he's sitting in a war room with all his generals around him, and you look at him, there's completely different lighting to everybody else in the room, and nobody in the room actually looks at him while he's talking. And the faces on the people in the room as well, they look very, very disturbed.
I'm here with Israel's defense minister, our chief of staff, the head of the Mossad, the chief of Air Force, our senior commanders. In the past 24 hours, we knocked out 2 of the terrorist chieftains, the top terrorist chieftains of this tyranny. Our aircraft are hitting the terror operatives on the ground, in the crossroads, in the city squares. This is meant to enable the brave people of Iran to celebrate the Festival of Fire. So celebrate and Happy Nowruz. We're watching from above.
Yeah, that clip is obviously a composite. It's taken from a meeting they had previously. They just changed a couple of things in the room, removed a coat rack or whatever. But it's a composite. The same as the one in the coffee shop. There was video footage of him, or there was a picture of him in that coffee shop, I think in 2024. And that's what they based that whole video on. There was another one where he's walking down the hall with Mike Huckabee, and he's got 2 ear canals.
Mr. Prime Minister, I wanted you to know the President asked me to come and make sure you were okay.
Yes, Mike. Yes, I'm alive.
I checked that, and I'm happy to see that. But he wanted to make sure because, you guys get along too well.
I know, and we shake hands with 5 fingers in each hand. But I have to tell you, I'm alive. Welcome to the Foreign Press. First of all, I just want to say, I'm alive, and you're all witnesses. And now that I dispatched this piece of fake news, I want to give you an update on Operation Roaring Lion. Under President Trump's visionary leadership, America and Israel are acting together in Iran with great determination and unprecedented strength. Operation Rising Lion is designed to remove the existential threats posed by the Ayatollah regime, the regime that has waged war against America and Israel and the people of Iran for 47 years. It chants death to America, death to Israel, and it delivers death to its own people. Our goals are three. One, removing the nuclear threat. One, removing the nuclear threat.
So you look at all this sort of stuff and you think, well, these are obvious AI artifacts. But 2 ear canals, I mean, why would they do that? Are they thinking people are just not going to look at the ears? You know, every proof of life video that they're putting out there kind of proves that he's dead. But then perhaps that's what they want. Perhaps he's simply gone into hiding and he wants you to think he's dead. I mean, you never know with these people. They plan things ahead. You know, and Israel's always been set up to be destroyed. That's why it was put there. It was put there to create this massive amount of instability in the Arab world and to create the war between East and West. See, since Israel was formed in 1948, it's just sat there like a cancer. You had the Schofield Bible came out, which said that Christians, and brought in the term Judeo-Christian. And it only came in with the Schofield Bible. It's not a real part of Christianity. I'm not a religious person. I can look at this and say, well, this is an interjection here, because when you look at the core faith of Judaism and the core faith of Christianity, they're diametrically opposed. The Jews hate Jesus. They're the ones who crucified Jesus. Well, no, it was the Romans. Well, no. Pilate washed his hand of the whole thing and walked away. Eventually, Jesus was murdered by the police at the urgings of a rabid Jewish mob. That's if he existed at all, okay? I didn't want to get into that discussion. But sure, all this has been planned. And they created the Schofield Bible so that they created this false vision that Judaism and Christianism are indelibly twined. Then they tried to influence all Christian nations, of which the most is America. I mean, you've got evangelists on TV 24 hours a day just pumping out this shit, 24 hours a day, brainwashing people. Just, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to support Israel or Jesus will hate you, you know. It's just ridiculous. And this has been going on in America more than anybody. They've got a completely brainwashed population, present company accepted. If you're an American, I'm sure you understand what I mean. You're out there in the Bible Belt and stuff, I mean, this is some crazy shit. Look at Trump's spiritual advisor, that woman doing the whole speaking in tongues shit. I mean, what the fuck is this?
Strike and 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 strike until you have victory. For every enemy that is aligned against you, let there be that we would strike the ground, for you will give us victory, God. I hear a sound of abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of shouting and singing. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. The Lord says it is done. The Lord says it is done. The Lord says it is done. For I hear victory, 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 victory in the corridors of heaven. In the corridors of heaven, victory, 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 victory.
They say that Iran is Islamic extremism. Well, what the fuck is that you saw that woman doing? That's like Christian extremism. This is something I talked about 6 months, 8 months ago, or a year ago when Trump first came to office. And I said they're turning America into a fascist theocracy. Christianity is being weaponized. And it's been done for a purpose, right? They want to kickstart this war. So they've done all this stuff over the last 48, 50 years to make you think that Islam is this horrible thing, and that all the women in Iran walk around wearing burqas and they're all dressed in black with only their eyes showing. If they take their hair out, they get stoned to death. You know, and all this sort of crap. It's bullshit. The story you've been fed about Iran is complete bullshit. I've shown you so many videos recently of what it's actually like in Iran. There's people walking around with tights on and their hair out and their midriff showing like any other country. It's actually a very intelligent culture. Higher standard of living if America wasn't putting sanctions on it, but definitely a higher standard of education. And they're just killing it all out. The latest guy they killed that Israel went and bombed, this guy Ali Larijani, was a professor. They're saying, oh, he was the head of some department of the government, therefore he's evil, he's a terrorist. He was a professor. He's written books on mathematics and philosophy. Very, very intelligent man. And he was the chief peace negotiator. Oh, but he's part of the government, so we've got to kill him. He's a chief peace negotiator. So you don't want peace. You know, what Israel has done is they've woken a beast which can't be put to sleep. And there's a lot of talk, well, Israel's going to nuke Iran if they look like they're losing. They can't be losing because if they would nuke Iran. Well, I would suggest there will never be any nuclear weapons used anywhere, folks. I personally have never seen any substantial proof that nuclear weapons exist. I've seen a whole bunch of Hollywood documentaries. I've seen a whole bunch of textbooks, but I've never seen anything in the physical world that would lend me to believe that nuclear weapons are actually a real phenomenon. We're told they do all this damage, radiation makes places uninhabitable. They say they dropped nuclear weapons on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, which are today, 60 years later, thriving cities. So how are these real? I don't think nuclear weapons, even if they were real, would serve any purpose. If they did irradiate a whole place and make it unlivable, well, what's the point of bombing a place? You can't have their land after that. You're just making parts of the earth uninhabitable. What's the point? So there is no point in ever even using nuclear weapons if they are real. Nuclear weapons serve no purpose. However, the threat of nuclear confrontation is a very, very useful tool for controlling the masses and for controlling governments who may believe all the propaganda you put out there and believe that nuclear weapons are real. So I don't think we'll ever see the use of a nuclear weapon, and therefore I think Israel's threat of the Samson option, that it has nuclear weapons trained on every capital city, is a bluff. But I think it's realised there are other options, because Israel is falling. Tel Aviv is being obliterated, and it's not going to stop, like I said, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And so Israel has taken another step, and that step is to basically cut off the energy supply to the Western world. Just the other day, two days ago, I think, they bombed the South Pars oil field, or gas field. And that is a really, really bad move. That is, I mean, it's a gas field, sure, it's not oil, it's a gas field, but it's going to elicit a response from Iran, and Iran is probably going to bomb a lot of oil fields in the Persian Gulf if this isn't brought to a close very quickly. And if it does, that is going to basically turn off the world's energy supply. Look what's happening in Cuba at the moment. Cuba is on the verge of complete collapse. Cuba is actually being genocided while people aren't looking, because when Trump went and invaded Venezuela and took over Venezuela, Israel commandeered all of the oil from Venezuela. It's all going to Israel now, and none of it is going to Cuba. And now Cuba doesn't have enough oil to run the country, and the electricity turned off, I think, yesterday. So now none of the fridges work. There's no electricity across all of Cuba, okay? So how are they going to run any of the communication systems? How are they going to run any of the farming systems? How is anything going to work? You can't even pump water or do anything because there's no oil to run anything. You can't turn on power plants. You can't use oil for pumps. What do you got, solar power? I mean...
Cuba's electrical grid has suffered a complete and total collapse. This is according to the country's power operator. It's the first nationwide blackout since the U.S. effectively shut off the flow of oil to Cuba.
Cuba is being genocided at the moment. So that's what happens when you cut off the oil, okay? And Israel has just bombed this gas field, which is a joint field between Iran and Qatar. And this is going to elicit a response, and you're going to see Iran bombing Saudi oil fields and all sorts of stuff. This is going to be absolutely devastating. It could result in mass famine, all sorts of things like that. And the only way to stop this is for the United States, Donald Trump, to realise that he's made a terrible mistake and to stop the war and to capitulate to Iran's demands. The United States cannot win this war. Don't believe anything the television is telling you about the United States military and all that sort of shit, their naval power, air force power. You know, Trump will go on there and say, we've decimated all their air force, we've shot all their navy, we've done all this sort of stuff. You know, why are they still fighting? Well, it's because, like I said earlier, Iran has watched how the United States has brought down other countries, and they prepared for this for 48 years. What Iran has got is what's known as a mosaic-designed defense system. And how this works is you've got 31 different provinces in Iran, which is a very large country. You've got 31 different provinces, and each one of those provinces has its own commander who operates completely independently of central command. He has his own supply of weapons, his own communication network, he has his own specific orders. These are in the form of a sealed envelope, which is to be opened in the event of a war and you are disconnected from central command. And these objectives are to be carried out to the letter with no compromise until you receive a message from central command to stop. Because Iran knows that it's fighting an existential war. This is a war for Persia's very existence. So they constructed a system which will run by itself. And there is no off switch unless they get a message from central command. But on Israel's very first strike, they took out central command. They took out the Ayatollah. They took out everything, about 1,000 people around him. They took out the entire communications chain for the war machine. So when they did that, the absence of a message from central command kicked the system into place, at which point each one of these 31 provinces opened up their envelope, and now they are going to fulfill these objectives. And Iran's concept is that it's going to make people understand never to attack Iran.
این که ما میگوییم آتش بس نمیخواهیم نه به این دلیل که دنبال جنگ هستیم، به این دلیل که این بار این جنگ باید به شکلی تمام بشود که دشمنان ما دیگر هرگز به فکر تکرار این حملات و این تجاوز نیفتند. و من فکر میکنم تا همین الان هم درس خوبی فرا گرفتند. فهمیدند که با چه ملتی طرف هستند که در دفاع از خودش هیچ تردیدی نمیکنه و آمادگی داره که جنگ رو تا هر کجا که هست ادامه بده و به هر کجا که هست بکشه.
President Trump said this weekend he is not ready to make a deal with Iran because the terms aren't good enough yet. His administration is saying this war could last another 3.5 weeks or so. Has Iran asked for a ceasefire?
No, we never asked for a ceasefire, and we have never asked even for negotiation. We are ready to defend ourselves as long as it takes, and this is what we have done so far, and we continue to do that until President Trump comes to the point that this is an illegal war with no victory, and there are people being killed only because President Trump wants to have fun. This is what he has said.
Have fun?
We are not. Yes, this is what he said, that they are sinking, ships and targeting different places because it is fun. And the Secretary of War has said that there is no mercy. Mm-hmm. And this is actually a war crime. Even saying that is a war crime. So this is a war. This is a war of choice by President Trump and the United States, and we are going to continue our self-defense.
You've got to understand, Iran has not had another war, hasn't gone to war with another nation. Persia hasn't gone to war with another nation in around about 280 years, if history is to be believed in any way, shape or form. But according to what history we know, it's been over 280 years since Persia actually attacked anybody. And even in this war, they have not attacked Israel. They have not attacked the United States. They are simply responding to an unprovoked attack while they are at the negotiating table, which is an absolute insult to them. And they are now going to respond and make it clear that you must never, ever attack Iran again. They've put forth their own demands. They don't want a ceasefire. In fact, they can't cease fire because there is no call from Central Command for them to cease fire. There might be certain generals that you're seeing on the television, you're seeing on YouTube or whatever, that are coming forth and they're giving their opinion and saying, no, they're like acting as the spokesperson. There was one professor who's been very, very eloquent. I can't remember his name. I'll see if I can find a picture of him and his name and put it up on screen. But I've watched a lot of his reports. Very eloquent man, very intelligent man. And there's a couple of generals, or one general at least, that is acting as the spokesperson for Iran. But all he's really doing, I mean, he's not getting out there and being told by the president or the leader or anybody to say what he's saying. He's simply telling you what the situation is, because all of these 31 cells have now been activated and they're operating on their own. You can't switch them off. The only way you can switch them off is to stop the war and allow Iran to appoint a new central command of their own choosing, who will then give the command to stop firing. And Israel is getting pounded day and night because there's no way to switch this off. The worst thing they could possibly have done was to take out the Iranian leader on the first strike. And then to have taken out that school children. So they think they can do this sort of stuff. America and Israel, they just think they can get away with these things, but they can't. And it has been confirmed now that it was the United States who hit that school. Hit 2 schools. They've hit a bunch of schools now, like a lot of schools. They've bombed energy centers and they're just doing terrible, terrible damage. But it's been confirmed the United States bombed that school. And not only did they bomb it, they double tapped it. They hit it with a missile. And that school was a particularly high-class school. A lot of the generals, a lot of the people in government sent their children to that school. It was a private school, and that's where a lot of the officials' kids went. And what they did is they bombed the school, and then they waited 40 minutes for the children's parents to arrive to try to claim the remains of their children, and then they bombed it again. This would have been done, like they killed the rescue crews, everything, just total war crimes. I don't give a shit about life at all. But it would appear that they actually bombed that school and killed 175 children simply because it gave them an opportunity to possibly bomb their parents who would have been in the government, and that way we can take out more government officials. That seems to be the logic behind this attack. Just sick shit, folks, sick shit. But by bombing the head of the military command, basically, they also disabled the off switch for the attack. So you're going to have Israel just keep getting bombarded by Iranian missiles until this is done. And they won't stop until Israel is gone. Their demands that they put out there are that they want regime change in Israel. They want a complete withdrawal of all US presence in the Persian Gulf, every base in every country in the Persian Gulf region gone. They want $500 billion in compensation for the damage that you've done to Iran, not only by bombing the supreme leader and destroying the presidential palace and a lot of ancient history, and like beautiful, beautiful palace they destroyed, but because you've had the country under sanctions for 47 years unwarrantedly. So we want these demands met. That's what we want. We want Israel gone. We want the American bases gone from the Middle East, and we want $500 billion in compensation, and we want this by April 10th, and if we don't, we're going to close the Straits of Hormuz indefinitely, and we're going to allow China and Russia and stuff to build military bases and stuff in Iran, blah, blah, blah. And it's going to keep fighting. They're going to keep pounding Israel until these demands are met. And like I said, there's every indication that Israel's done. It's gone. The Greater Israel Project, forget it. It's done. It's gone. Bibi is very likely dead. It's very likely Ben Gvir is dead. Beelzebub Smokedick's son apparently died the other day. Beelzebub seems to still be alive. That probably won't take long. And Israel is getting absolutely destroyed. Civilians, everybody. And you've got to understand, I mean, sure, everybody hates Israel because of what's going on in Gaza. But there's a lot of people in Israel who really support the Palestinians, and there's a lot of good people in there. So it's terrible to see this happening, and it's a shame that it had to come to this. But we all knew it was. And Israel was created specifically to be destroyed. And by activating this whole mosaic defense system in Iran, they've really created a situation where, I mean, they're screwed. They activated a mosaic defense system, and then they purposefully or deliberately killed the only off switch to that system. And why I think there are no nukes and the Samson option will never be implemented by Israel as well, well, not why I think it, but, you know, it helps me, you know, lean that way, is the fact that Israel has now bombed the South Pars oil field and has created a situation where the world's energy supply is going to be completely and utterly disrupted, which is going to have a result of mass famine and is going to reach every single country on earth. The energy needs of the people simply aren't going to be met. And this has all been done by design. This is Israel's Samson option. They want to take out the entire world energy grid. Apparently they did that without telling Donald Trump either. And as far as Trump goes, I mean, I think Trump has been led down the garden path. Hello, lady. How are you, darling? Lady in soul. Where's Natcha? Where's Natcha? Natcha! Natcha, Ben! I don't know where she is. She'll be around. But I think Trump's been led down the garden path. I mean, Trump's got a massive ego. He thinks he knows everything.
Nobody knows this stuff better than me.
Nobody knows more about taxes than I do, and income than I do.
Nobody knows more about construction than I do.
Nobody knows more about campaign finance than I do.
I know more about drones than anybody.
Nobody knows much more about technology, this type of technology, certainly, than I do.
Nobody knows more about technology than me.
Nobody in the history of this country has ever known so much about infrastructure as Donald Trump. I know the H-1B. I know the H-2B. Nobody knows it better than me.
I know more about ISIS than the generals do, believe me.
I understand things. I comprehend very well, okay? Better than, I think, almost anybody.
And by the way, who knew the other side of the picture better than me? I knew it.
Nobody knows more about environmental impact statements than me. I understand the power of Facebook. Maybe better than almost anybody. I know more about renewables than any human being on Earth. Nobody knows more about polls than me.
I know more about courts than any human being on earth.
I know more about steelworkers than anybody that's ever run for office.
I know more about golf than Obama knows.
Nobody knows more about banks than I do.
Nobody knows more about trade than me. Well, obviously, he doesn't know about nuclear weapons. I know more about nuclear weapons than he'll ever know.
I understand the tax laws better than almost anyone.
Who knows more about lawsuits than I do? I'm the king. I know more about offense and defense than they will ever understand.
And nobody even understands it but me. It's called devaluation.
I understand money better than anybody.
I understand the system better than anybody. Nobody knows more about debt than I do.
Nobody knows the game better than me.
I know more about contributions than anybody.
And who knows more about the word apprentice than Donald Trump?
I understand politicians better than anybody. Nobody knows politicians better than me.
Who knows the other side better than me?
Who knows the other side better than me?
I think I know more about the other side than almost anybody.
And I understand the other side. Perhaps I understand it better than anybody else.
I was the fair-haired boy. Nobody knows more about it than me.
I know more than these politicians. These guys don't know anything.
I know a lot. I know more than I'm ever going to tell you. The truth is, I'm actually a modest person. Very modest. It's true.
And I would suggest that Trump actually believed that they were going to usher in this new system. You know, he was going to be able to redevelop Gaza and do all sorts of stuff like this. I don't think they expected the response they got and are going to continue to get from Iran, which simply can't be turned off, as I said. That's the freaky part about it. Is that Natcha? Natcha! Yeah, she's over there. Probably rolling in something lovely. See, what Iran's got like thousands and thousands of missiles. They set themselves up for asymmetric warfare. They know they can't defeat a country like the United States in an open battle, military against military. They don't have the Air Force, they don't have the Navy, they don't have any of that stuff. But what they've got, and what they've spent most of their money on, is tens of thousands of missiles. And these missiles are not in silos. They're just spread out across the desert in 31 different provinces, and they come from underground. They have silos that are like 500 metres below ground, but they've tunnelled into these places and they've created openings by drilling upwards. So no one's seen them building these silos. They have no idea where they are. And these silos fire missiles, and they can also fire hypersonic missiles. Yeah, and the hypersonic missiles are incredible. Well, these things move so quick. And this is what they're hitting Israel with. And a lot of just the plain ballistic missiles they send over, they break open. They've got like anywhere from 20 to 80 warheads in each one of these missiles, like I said before. So they haven't expected this. See, Iran doesn't have a central bank. Iran is not part of the whole Rothschild's Kabbalistic system. So I think it's been a huge wild card for them. And I think Trump actually thought he was going to be hanging out with the winners, and this whole New World Order and all this stuff they were going to do was all going to come online just the way they said it was. And he was going to be loved and cherished as the man who took down the terrible Muslim menace. That's the way the public would look at him. I mean, really, he's just a pedophile, rapist, cannibalistic puppet, like all the rest of them. And I don't think they expected this response from Iran. I don't think they expected Benjamin Netanyahu to get killed. And they can't let the world know that he's been killed, not yet. But I don't think they expected any of this to go down the way they did. They expected Iran was going to play the game. But Iran isn't playing the game. And we're in a really, really crazy situation, folks. We really are. Because the only way for this to stop is for the United States to surrender. The minute the United States surrenders, Trump's going to get arrested. I mean, that's a given. All the stuff that's come out with the Epstein files, and just the fact that this war is illegal, just the fact that on Trump's watch, every single US base in the Middle East has been destroyed. This is from the no-war president. And like I said, they've given them till April 10th, and if the terms aren't met by April 10th, they're just going to go all out. And they haven't even gone all out yet. Most of the missiles that Iran has been sending into Israel are 10-year-old missiles, except for a few hypersonic missiles they've sent over there. Most of them are old stock. They haven't even started. They can keep this going for the next 10 years if they need to, because they know this is a war for their very existence. And should war break out, and they're insulted the way they have been, by doing this while they're in the middle of negotiations and then taking out the supreme leader in the presidential palace and then bombing a school to open it. You think they want a ceasefire, want to negotiate? No, they want you to fuck off. They want you to fuck off. They want you to know that you should never ever attack Iran, because we are going to do so much damage to your country. And as for Israel, it's not even going to exist anymore. And that's the thing. I mean, Iran doesn't even have long-range missiles. It can't attack the United States, okay? It can attack all the US bases in the Persian Gulf that are being used to attack Iran, which is why it's attacking them, and it can wipe Israel off the face of the earth. which is its intention. It wants to do that. It wants Israel gone, regime change, wants the land given back to the Palestinians. And it wants all US bases gone. The fact that they don't have long-range missiles that can hit the United States shows you that they don't want war. But they will not allow themselves to be attacked by the same token. And if you don't pull out and just surrender this region of the world, pull all your US bases away from us, get them out of the Persian Gulf, you've got no right to be in the Persian Gulf to begin with. If you want to buy oil, fine, we'll sell you oil. But on our terms, we'll own our own oil. You won't own it. You know, let's run the world as actually being equal. So you go to your country, we'll stay in ours and we'll trade with each other. That's all good. You want to do that? Fine. But if you're not prepared to capitulate and just pull out of here, then fine. We will form an alliance with Russia and with China, who have missiles that will hit your country. But we'll let them do it, not us, because we don't want war. That's the Iranian attitude. And they didn't expect it to go down like this. And Trump has made a fool of himself in front of the entire world. The entire world saying no. He reached out for help. And everyone's saying, no, not our war. You were a fool to do this. Because they know how delicate the balance is. You know, the world could actually be run properly, even if you're going to run it as a business model. It could be run properly. It doesn't need to be run by these Kabbalistic pedophiles. And that's the whole thing. This group within Judaism, these Kabbalists. And for the last 150 years, or maybe even 200 years, they've been working, or probably for the last 2,000 years, these Chabad, Lubavitch, Kabbalistic mafia, they believe that their Messiah is born every generation. He's always alive. And he will take the throne and the Jews will be free, or whatever it is that they're enslaved to. Fucking twisted mentality, but whatever it is. Their Jewish prophecies will be fulfilled, these stupid freaking religious books that people read. But they believe their Jewish prophecies will be fulfilled once this certain chain of events happened. So all they do their whole lives is work to bring about this chain of events, to create a situation where the Messiah can be anointed. They believe that this has to happen by October the 2nd, 2027, which is why they're working so hard now to create all of this whole tension, everything. They need to have a massive war and have everybody kill each other because their Messiah won't come to the throne otherwise. It's a death cult. The star on their flag, the star of Remphan, child sacrifice, it's a freaking death cult. And they believe they've got to do all this shit and create all these wars and all this suffering and this whole situation. They've got to bring it about in order to fulfill their prophecies. They can't just let it happen like a normal prophecy would just happen, right? You know, I predict this is going to happen sometime in the future. Oh, well, okay, let's destroy the world until it happens. Yeah, great religion, you know? So that's what's going on here. And they have kickstarted all this and they think they're going to lose now. So they're thinking, well, okay, we'll nuke the world. And since there are no nukes, well, we'll just break down the entire supply chain so no one's got any fuel because everyone's dependent upon fake energy and oil energy and fossil fuels and shit now, which aren't even fossil fuels. Don't get me started on that. But, you know, they've taken away all of our free energy from us and everything they took from us when they collapsed the last civilization. And they've created this whole religious bullshit, got everybody to believe it, so now they can start their big war, you know. And they really believed they were going to create a situation where their prophet would come, their new Messiah, and they would, you know, do all this shit they believe they're going to do. Ascend Jacob's ladder. Oh, it's sick. It's a sick culture. And I think Trump believed he was going to be part of that. And now, either his boss, Bibi, is dead, or he's faking his own death, and you're just leaving Trump to hold the bag, or he's actually dead. And I would suggest he is. He's actually a guy, I don't know him, but apparently he had his channel taken down or something, I don't know. But there was a guy I saw with a beard, and he was talking. Apparently everyone's a bit of a fan of this guy because he's made 30 videos or something, and every one of them's turned out to be right. So I don't know, I haven't watched much of his stuff. But I did catch this one. And he talked about the fact that Bibi left the country at a certain time and he was very likely put into a medically induced coma and taken to Germany. He was probably very badly injured in the missile strike on his house because his house did get struck by a missile. Yeah, and he was pretty badly injured in the strike apparently, but not completely killed. And he presents pretty viable evidence, this guy, that Bibi was very likely put into an induced coma while in flight on his particular plane that he flies on. You can do that. It's got a medical section on the plane. And taken to Germany, because no other country would have him. Of course, it would be the Germans. But he puts forth a pretty possible scenario.
After the video I made yesterday that's already over 5 million views, a lot of you had the question, how do I know that he was put in a medically induced coma before flying to Germany? Well, let me tell you. What you're watching behind me are the flight details of the Wing of Zion, the aircraft for Bibi Netanyahu. But watch this. So the aircraft takes off from Tel Aviv. There we go, takes off. And then does this for about 4 hours. Why would the Wing of Zion be circling the coast for about 4 hours? Well, the only thing that comes to mind for me is they are here putting him in the medically induced coma and trying to stabilize him along with probably some other victims. So I went to ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT, hey, give me some more information about this plane. So I asked, what's the registration flight number of this plane? And ChatGPT went, 4X ISR, Wing of Zion. As you just saw in the video, same code. All right, let's keep going. I then asked, is there a hospital on board the plane, i.e. a hospital equipped well enough so you can stabilize someone and put them in a medically induced coma? Yep. Let's continue. All right, let's have one more look. Right there, 4X ISR confirmed, the Wing of Zion. But let's look at the flight path, because he circles the coast of Gaza for about 4 hours-ish and then proceeds to go to Europe. So let's wait for him to fly to Europe. So after being stabilized inside the plane, he is then moved to Europe. Cyprus rejects him. They were like, you are not welcome here. He then flies to Greece, and Greece is like, no Malacca, try Italy. We don't want you here, Malacca. Keep going. So they come to Italy. Italia! And Italia was like, no, ma che cazzo, e affanculo, keep flying. Maybe France. No, France also, nope. Germany? Of course Germany will accept the Zionist Nazi leader. Yeah. So he arrives in Berlin, where he then allegedly spent some time in hospital with his 6 fingers and eventually passed away, not only because of his injuries, but allegedly also because of negligence.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what's going on, folks. But he's very likely dead. He's certainly not running Israel anymore. He's been at none of the meetings. You always hear Trump. Until I spoke to Bibi the other day, blah, blah, blah. He's not saying any of that. Trump looks like a little schoolboy that got caught down the back of the toilet raping a child or something. He looks really, really frustrated, and looks very, very perturbed at the moment. You got that other guy leaving the government. What was his name? Kent or something? Somebody Kent. We spoke about it. I was just on SGT Report, actually, just before I came to do this video. And we spoke about all that on the SGT Report. So I'll probably post that in the next couple of days. Or if not, I think Sean's going to post it tonight anyway. So after you watch this, you might want to go over and check out what was spoken about in that conversation. But yeah, Trump looks like a fighting little schoolboy. And I saw an interesting article the other day. I mean, think about it. If Bibi had faked his own death, and they just set all this whole thing in motion, they just fuck off. Trump now, if he's a full player, if he wasn't led down the garden path and he's just being hung out to dry, well, he looks like a sheepish little schoolboy, and he's pissed off the entire country. And in a matter of a few weeks, once it becomes apparent that the Iranians are not slowing down and they've lost every US base, and the US has virtually finished now as a superpower because it doesn't have the stranglehold it once had over the world, because once all those bases are gone in the Persian Gulf, that's the end of the petrodollar. And even with other countries, I mean, part of the demands of the Persians are saying, or the Iranians, Persians, same thing. They're saying to France and Germany and other countries, saying, well, yeah, the Straits of Hormuz are closed, but they're open to our allies. They're only closed to America and Israel and their allies. So if you want oil from the Straits of Hormuz, you can have it. The straits are open to everybody as long as you're not a US ally. So all you have to do is close your US embassy in your country and send the diplomats home and sever ties with the United States, and you can use the straits and get all the oil you want. But if you're an ally of the United States who has just attacked us unprovoked while we're in the middle of peace talks and has taken out our presidential palace and our spiritual leader and just bombed a whole class of school children and has been exposed as a pedophile, and they're actually calling the people attacking them the Epstein Coalition. So if you're part of the Epstein Coalition, no, you can't have oil through these straits. You know, we don't want to sell to pedophiles. And all these people out there say, oh, it's the Arabs, they marry children. No, they don't. This is another misconception that you've been sold about Iranians. All of the child marriages and things happened under the previous Shah.
Had to jump on here and counter this stupid narrative. The reason you don't see Khamenei and his pals in the Epstein files is because child marriage is legal in Iran. Child marriage is legal in Iran. Child marriage is legal in Iran under the Islamic Republic.
Child marriage is legal in America. Child marriage is legal in America. Child marriage is legal in America under the Epstein Empire, and it was legal in Iran during the Pahlavi Empire. And the Pahlavi family loved child marriage so much that when Reza Pahlavi was exiled from Iran to America, he kept the tradition alive and married a child in the United States. It's true that there is child marriage in the Islamic Republic of Iran, and that's unfortunate, but they didn't start it. It's a practice that continues from the Pahlavi dynasty and from the Qajar dynasty before. It's a cultural ill that stretches across dynasties, and even if we have a similar cultural ill like existed in Afghanistan, we will not allow that to be used to generate consent for a war where children in Iran will be killed. So your alternative is that instead of child marriages, we should kill children like in that school? Is that what your proposition is? This is ridiculous propaganda against Iran. They are telling you lies to get you to support this war. And what's even worse, it seems like now they're running cover for the Epstein Empire. These people should be ashamed. They have sold themselves out. They have joined forces with demons.
Yeah, and they want to install the son of this guy now. I mean, Iran was a progressive country back until 1953 when they overthrew Mossadegh. They imposed the Shah. The Shah had a secret police called Savak. There isn't an Iranian family that didn't experience the horror of Savak. They were trained by Mossad and CIA, and they tortured and brutalized people. There's a documentary you can watch. It's about 18 minutes long. I'll actually post it on my Shorts channel for you, or I think there's a link on X. I'll see if I can find it and post it below. But here's just a short example of it.
And we looked at the names of people that were martyred in this death chamber, death prison. I said hundreds of names, but as we walked through, we saw actually that the names kept on going and going on the walls. Thousands upon thousands of victims just in this one torture prison, and there was many of them. And as we were told right now, the torturers, the leaders in this prison right now are in the United States, still alive, and or in the Zionist colony, still alive, plotting to bring back this regime of the Shah.
Yeah, it was an absolutely hideous time for Iran, which is why the Shah was overthrown and the spiritual leader came back to say, look what happens when you turn away from Islam. And right when that happened, or maybe 2 years after that happened, the king of Arabia, King Faisal, was overthrown in a CIA coup, and the Saudi family was installed in Arabia, and it became Saudi Arabia.
يشرب الخمر لأنها أم الخبائث، وأنا أقول أن الصهيونية هي أم الخبائث لأنها هي أسباب هالمشاكل هذه كلها. في العالم. الشيوعية جت من الصهيونية. المبادئ الهدامة جت من الصهيونية. التفسخ الخلقي جاء من الصهيونية. الخروج على كل المبادئ وكل التقاليد وكل الأعراف وكل الآداب وكل الكرامة والشرف جاءت من الصهيونية. فإذا هي أم الخبائث وهي الأساس. والسبب في ذلك مثل ما ذكرت في الأول أنهم يحاولون على أنهم يسيطروا على العالم. هم لا يمكن يسيطروا بعددهم ولا بقوتهم، ولكن يسيطروا على العالم بتفكيرهم بهذه المبادئ يبثوها بين أبناء الشعوب. فلما تصل إلى درجة من التحلل والتفسخ وعدم القدرة في ذاك الوقت يسيطروا عليه. وهذا هدفهم. وهم والله هم أصدقاء الأحد. هم أصدقاء الشيطان.
The Saudi family are crypto Jews, and they impose an extreme form of Islam called Wahhabism. And women were stoned to death. People had to walk around in burqas with only their eyes showing. All the stuff that you've been told was happening in Iran and told what Islam isn't, but that's what was created in Saudi Arabia through Wahhabism. And that was sold to the world. This is what Islam is. This is why you need to embrace the concept of Judeo-Christianism. And you Christians need to go and fight all of these Islamist terrorists, okay? It was all set up through Saudi Arabia. And you go to Saudi Arabia now, all those rules are down. Women can walk around in bikinis and all sorts of stuff, you know? That's the way they set it up so that you would hate Islam. And it was all set up for this very occasion. That's the way they did it, folks. Hello, Nacho. Hello, guys. Look at these guys. Look at these dogs. I don't know how I could get the camera down, but I've got these 3 chihuahuas here who are just awesome. If I can stand up and just show you. I won't stand up, but there's Nacha and Sol. And there's a lady over here. Hey, lady. I've got you on camera. I can't really see from where I am. I don't know how to pan the camera up and down. I haven't figured it out with this camera. If I try to use the pan, it seems to... Oh no, this pan. Look at that. If I try to go up and down though, it zooms in or out. So I don't know how it really works. But anyway, I'm still trying to figure this camera out. The dog's completely distracted me then. But anyway, all this whole concept of why you need to hate the Muslims was all set up by the Jews. And through Saudi Arabia and all that sort of stuff. And all the bullshit you've been told about Iran wasn't true at all. And like I just showed you, there was no child marriages and shit happening in Iran. There isn't now. That only happened when the Shah was in place. I mean, and this is the guy they want to put in place now. They're saying we want to bring the royal family back because it's so terrible. The whole thing's been contrived, and it's not even about freeing anybody. It's about killing. It's about mass depopulation. It's about creating a war between the East and the West and making sure as many people die as possible. That's what they want to do. That's what this whole thing's been set up for. They believe they can do that. They can make everybody kill each other by 2027. Just have mass conflagration everywhere. Have everyone killing each other on the ground everywhere. Just this massive blood sacrifice in order to bring back their Antichrist, who they call the Messiah, Moshiach or whatever. And they don't give a shit about Israel. They don't give a shit about the Jewish people. They don't give a shit about America. They don't give a shit about anything. They just want mass death. And now it looks like they're not going to get that. So they figure, well, we'll just nuke the world by cutting off the oil supply and cutting off the energy supply, which is why they're bombing the gas fields, hoping that Iran is going to respond. And who knows, maybe they have by the time I even post this video. Maybe they haven't. Maybe they can see through it. Maybe they can see the same things that I'm seeing and realize that bombing the oil fields and shutting down the world oil supply, energy supply, would just result in mass famine, mass depopulation, not just for the West, but for all countries. So perhaps they've got the foresight to see that, and hopefully they won't do it. Or perhaps they will have already done it by the time I post this video. Crazy. I haven't even got started yet. Crazy, just talking about the world situation. What else is there to talk about? I mean, it's going crazy in every country. Just got crazy in Australia, actually. They just brought in some ridiculous legislation in Australia after the Bondi shooting. And it's so preposterous. I'll actually switch. When I've done this video, I'll go inside, I'll record a little video and I'll add it to the video here so you can see exactly what they're proposing, which is absolutely outrageous. So I look at this, folks. This is Michael West, media independent journalist. Civil Liberties Senate to approve extraordinary ASIO powers. And this is March 19th, 2026. New laws poised to pass in the Senate enshrining ASIO's extraordinary powers of interrogation without proper judicial or public review. July 2025 extension of the Australian Security Act, blah, blah, blah. Now, what they can do, unlike police detention for suspected crimes where suspects or persons of interest can refuse to answer questions, those apprehended by ASIO are afforded no such rights. If someone detained by ASIO refuses to speak, that is a crime for which they could face summary judgment and up to 5 years imprisonment. It's also a crime for an individual to disclose to a third party that they had been detained and questioned in the first place. Okay? Warrants to detain, interrogate need only have the approval of the Attorney General, who almost always acts on the advice of the security. Right? So they can basically, anybody who looks a little strange, they can just basically arrest you. No warrant needed, no right to silence, none of any of this stuff. It's all been taken away. They don't like what you look like or what you say. They can just take you, and they can take you indefinitely and do whatever they want, all based, of course, on this event. Look out for this, folks. I mean, the Australian government, or should I say the Australian Baby Eaters Association, is bringing these laws in place to stop you talking about them. And I think we need to pay attention. Yeah, extraordinary powers for ASIO, folks. Very, very dangerous. They don't even need a reason. You don't have to have committed any crime. He's got to look at you and think, I don't like the look of him. I'll take him in and I'll do whatever I want to him. He's got no rights. I want to check all his emails. I want to do everything like I feel like I want to do to him. And if he tells anybody about it, then he can get 5 years in jail. This is full-blown Stasi stuff. I mean, this is just ridiculous. You know, Australia has fallen. With the introduction of this type of legislation, that's it for Australia. It's over. If you live in Australia, I would urge you to probably leave. Because, you know, if that isn't overturned, and again, even introducing, you've got to understand, I mean, these laws are being put in place by what is essentially the Australian Baby Eaters Association, euphemistically known as the Australian federal government. Same as everything that's happening in the United States. It's the American Baby Eaters Association. French government, French Baby Eaters Association. All of these people. It would appear that Iran, the Iranian government, is one of the only governments that actually probably doesn't eat babies. What does that tell us?
How much longer can Iran sustain the closure of the Strait of Hormuz?
Indefinitely.
Because it harms your economy too, doesn't it?
For us, it is a fight for survival. For you, it is a fight to sustain the Epstein class and ethno-supremacism in Palestine.
Why do you keep bringing up? Why do you bring up Jeffrey Epstein in this context? What's the logical leap there?
It's very clear. It's very clear what class of people are in charge in your countries. That class of people are the people who have control. They're the ones who own the media. They're the ones who control the government. They are the ones who start unprovoked wars time after time. This is not the first war that you've imposed upon this region, or Iran for that matter. And we just saw yesterday a key American anti-terrorist official resigned, saying the truth that we all knew, but you tried to hide. And that is Iran was no threat to the United States, and that this war was carried out because of the Israeli regime and its powerful lobby. So what I'm saying is basically what he is saying. That powerful lobby is the Epstein.
What fucking world we live in, folks. It's just nuts. It's nuts. But we can't allow them to put laws like this in place. You know, this is a huge breach of trust by the Australian government. It's a huge abuse of office. I mean, what can I say? Hello, Natcha. You want to say hello to everybody? Natcha. Hello. Hello. Where are you going to lie down there in the shade, eh? It's nice and cool, huh? Natcha's a timid little dog. She's a wonderful, wonderful little dog, though. But yeah, the world's gone nuts. And like I said, I mean, Trump's genociding Cuba at the same time, you know. And his attitude towards it, he just doesn't give a fuck, you know, he'll just do what he wants to Cuba, he says.
All my life I've been hearing about the United States and Cuba. When will the United States do it? I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good. That's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation right now.
Yeah, he's just lost the plot completely. And everything that's been done to support Israel, all these politicians that do all this shit they do to support Israel, all through this belief that they pushed in people's minds with this Schofield Bible crap. It's just unbelievable, folks. And Israel itself, I mean, the Palestinian prisoners, what happens to the prisoners? They're just tortured and raped and abused, and it's horrendous. The guy in West Bank the other day, 29-year-old family man, they just came in there, settlers just came in there, not even soldiers, settlers, came into his house, kicked the door down, they stripped him naked, they raped him, they tied cable ties around his genitalia and paraded him around town in front of his children. I think then they actually raped him in front of his children. They also then, I think, tied his children up and raped his children in front of the parents. This is what they do, these people. It's unbelievable. And their prisons in Israel are basically just torture dungeons.
This is what happens when you are imprisoned by the Israeli occupation. You're probably taken in the middle of the night, kidnapped from your home at gunpoint, or disappeared at a checkpoint. There will be no official charges, no real trial. The interrogation lasts hours, days even. If you're lucky, you're only shackled, beaten, deprived of sleep, food, and water. But these days, it'll probably be worse. You'll likely be forced into stressed positions, tortured, or even sexually assaulted. Maybe they'll put you in something they call the disco room, a tiny room where they blast loud music, loud enough to blow your eardrums. Maybe they'll strip you of your clothes and leave you there in the freezing cold in nothing but your underwear. Maybe they'll let the dogs loose on you, throw you in an overcrowded room with no sunlight and little food, and if you get sick, no one will come to help you. Or maybe your fate will be even worse than all of that. Like N.A., the woman from Gaza who was arrested at an Israeli checkpoint during the genocide.
I was put on a metal table. My hands were cuffed. My legs pulled apart. A man raped me. I started screaming. They beat me while I screamed. I heard the camera clicking. They were filming me. This happened 4 times over 3 days.
Or maybe like AA, a 35-year-old Palestinian man and father who was arrested from the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City.
We were stripped completely. Soldiers brought dogs that climbed on us and assaulted us. The dog did it deliberately, knowing exactly what it was doing, while the soldiers kept beating and torturing us and spraying pepper spray in our faces. The dog assault lasted about 3 minutes.
And maybe you may never see the outside of these walls again, because in less than 2 years, at least 94 Palestinians died in Israeli custody, 3 times more than in the 10 years before October 7th combined. These stories were not taken out of a horror film. This is real life for almost 10,000 Palestinians who are still being held inside Israel's torture camps today.
Yeah, crazy stuff, folks. And while they're doing all this as well, they're still obliterating Beirut, like they're turning Beirut into rubble. How the fuck they're going in there and getting the warplanes to bomb Beirut? I think Iran actually just bombed a bunch of military air bases. I think the biggest air bases in Israel have now been completely put out of commission, so perhaps they won't be able to bomb Beirut anymore. It's horrendous, the damage that they're doing. They're just killing as much as they can before they go down. They're just going down, just attacking everybody around them that they can. Lebanon, Iran, Iraq, the whole world by bombing this energy center, this Qatar Iranian gas field. And like I said, hoping for a response to take down the energy grid. The damage they've done to the United States through usury and the depletion of the food chain and all the shit they've done to the United States. The food there is just horrible, terrible, full of ingredients that aren't in any other countries, banned in most countries, just ridiculous stuff. They're bombing bridges in South Lebanon as well, folks, by the way. Like every bridge they're bombing in South Lebanon. And this isn't, they don't have any, military value. They're just bombing bridges so that communities are isolated in South Lebanon, so they starve to death. They can't get any supplies, can't get any food. Another thing they did in Iran, they bombed. There was that fake video where Netanyahu put out another fake AI video, but what they said in the video is they're going to bomb all of the town squares and crossroads, intersections. They're going to bomb all the town squares and crossroads in support of the Iranian people in order to prevent the military from attacking them, so that it would allow them to celebrate a special ancient festival called the Festival of Fire. Like sick, we're going to bomb all your town centers and crossroads. Imagine bombing every intersection in Tehran, all your main crossroads and every town center in order to help you celebrate the Festival of Fire. These people are so sick.
Our aircraft are hitting the terror operatives on the ground, in the crossroads, in the city squares. This is meant to enable the brave people of Iran to celebrate the Festival of Fire. So celebrate and Happy Nowruz. We're watching from above.
But that wasn't even Benjamin Netanyahu saying it, because that is an AI video. And like I said, he's either dead or he's faked his own death.
We're watching from above.
They want to destroy as much as possible, folks, and kill as many as possible. They want to bring in this smart grid with what's left, 6G, all that sort of stuff, which they've already mapped out. They've already got all these robots and stuff coming online with all that sort of shit. And they did it. They mapped the world through Pokemon Go. I was saying this when Pokemon Go came out and everyone was running around with their phones and doing all this stuff, and they're mapping their entire environments, mapping their homes and shit. I was saying this is all being done for the smart grid. They've created a game so that the public will go out there and map the world for them, and they did.
Okay, so it turns out the Pokemon Go era wasn't a collective mental breakdown. It was an unpaid internship. Every single person who wandered into a cemetery at midnight, walked into a lamppost, or stood in the rain outside a Walgreens for 20 minutes, trying to catch a Snorlax, was actually doing data entry for the robot economy. No V2, no benefits, not even a thank you email. Niantic Spatial, the AI spun out from the company that invented the reason your uncle fell into a fountain in 2016, just revealed it has been sitting over 30 billion crowdsourced urban images this whole time. Every Pokestop photo, every IR snapshot, every I need to physically walk to this location moment has been quietly stacking up into the most detailed street-level dataset on the planet. That dataset is now training a spatial AI that can look at a random street corner and know exactly what it is within a few centimeters. Your parasocial relationship with a fictional electronic mouse accidentally built the navigation system of the future.
Yeah, folks, nuts. So that's probably all I got to say. I won't even touch on half the stuff I wanted to say, I don't think. But something else they're doing that I did want to touch on. He's okay. He's the neighbour. Leave him alone. He's a friend. Dogs will be dogs. But something I did want to touch on was that there's been a lot of people in Western countries that have Iranian ties that are celebrating the bombing of Iran, the bombing of Tehran. They've been posting a lot of stuff on social media and stuff. Interesting thing, a lot of those people have family in Iran, and they have property in Iran, they have bank accounts in Iran, And the Iranian government saw all those people that were posting all those videos celebrating their country being bombed, and they set about mass confiscations of everything and all their assets in Iran. So that kind of backfired on them.
They have seized and are in the process of seizing all their property, assets, and everything they own in Iran. This shit backfired on those motherfuckers. That's right. You want Iran bombed? You want the Iranian people bombed? Don't fucking come back to Iran anymore. Now they are seizing all these assets in favor of the Iranians who have been affected by this bombing. If they've lost their home, they've lost family, they need medical care, or they children who have lost their parents and need to be taken care of, and so on and so forth. That's right, you motherfuckers. You wanted liberty for people who were happy where they were and they didn't want to get bombed, and they were working it out with the government over time. This is what you get. You get everything taken away from you, and you can never go back to Iran again. Never. So this is totally backfired on you motherfuckers. Now go and say Javid Shah. Fuck him.
Yeah, so I don't think any of this is working out the way they planned. And the damage that they're doing to Iran is just shocking. You know, Iran's got a very large Christian population as well, actually. It's got actually one of the most beautiful churches in the world that celebrates both Christian and Persian culture intertwined.
This has to be the most surprising thing I've seen in the whole of Iran.
This site belongs to the 17th century Armenian Apostolic Church, one of the oldest branches of Christianity in the world. What I found inside completely blew me away. Christian and Persian styles coming together so beautifully. Built during the Safavid era, the cathedral was shaped by the same artistic traditions that created Esfahan's great mosques. The arches, the floral patterns, the geometry, all framing scenes from the Bible. But what struck me most was the atmosphere. People from all walks of life, quietly admiring and paying respect to what I can only describe as a true Iranian treasure.
Be interesting to see if Israel or the United States bombs that location and says they're doing it because they're trying to free the world from Islam. Can't believe anything these people say, folks. But you know, all this is tied together. Everything that we've seen in the last couple of years has been tied together. The whole Epstein thing, the whole Epstein debacle has exposed everything. And like I said previously, Epstein wasn't a kingpin who was blackmailing people. He was basically a gopher. He was an organizer. He was like a manager, kind of a managerial position, collecting girls, organising parties, had a lot of connections, could collect a lot of things together. He was good at that. But even in that interview with William and Sasha Riley that I've got posted on my channel called Don't Worry, Boys Are Hard to Find, which talks about some of Trump's activity involving a young William Sasha Riley. Even that, he said that when he saw Trump and Epstein together, Epstein looked like he was subservient to Trump. And Trump was one of the only people who really scared him with all the trafficking that he was subject to. Trump actually scared him. There's been a lot of stuff coming out now about how Trump assaulted a 13-year-old girl, stuff like this. None of this surprises me at all. In fact, I think he did a lot worse than that. But it's all tied together. I mean, the whole Epstein thing, the war in Iran, the Charlie Kirk shooting as well. Charlie Kirk was an advisor to Trump on many occasions, and he had advised very strongly against a war with Iran. We know full well that Charlie Kirk had turned against Israel in the last few weeks of his life, last month, I don't know how long, because I'd never even heard of Charlie Kirk until he got assassinated. but he had completely turned on Israel, and he was a huge influence on the youth of America. So had Charlie Kirk turned on Israel, and had Charlie Kirk spoken out against the war with Iran, then it would have been very, very bad, which shows how long this has been in play. I mean, Trump came in saying he was the no-war president. He probably fully intended to have this war with Iran before that he was elected. But he would have known all about it, would have known, with the assassination attempt, all this sort of shit. Maybe he didn't find out until then. Maybe they didn't tell him until after they'd done that little thing with his ear. So, okay, you've made the agreement now, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to do this and do this and do this, and you're going to kickstart this war with Iran and blah, blah, blah. So who knows? Maybe that's when he had the news broken to him. Or maybe he knew before then. Who freaking knows? But all of this has been set up for a very long time, and they simply couldn't allow Charlie Kirk to be around to speak out about it and speak out against it. I'm now on the side, or if there is a side, but I'm now in agreement with some people who have been claiming that Charlie Kirk's mic clip actually had an explosive device in it, and that is what killed him. It was actually an anti-personnel device. And what's caused me to lean towards this now is to be how he died. And personally, I think he's probably dead. I don't see any reason they would have kept him alive. I think he was kind of living in like a Truman Show, Charlie Kirk. He was kept so busy. He was out doing talks all the time, presidential meetings all the time. He was fed information by his people around him, his group around him, who were using the organization to possibly traffic children. Erica Kirk is so suspect. I mean, she's got no income, visible income. She was a plant. She was definitely a Mossad plant. How she was going around doing all these charity work and saving children and all sorts of shit like that, having military ties and all sorts of crap, none of it makes sense. She was definitely a honeypot, definitely a handler. And apparently they had a big fight the night before he died and blah, blah, blah. But I think he was like living a Truman Show. There was one question that I saw someone, when he was talking about Iran, he was talking about Islamic extremism and stuff. And someone asked him a question about blah, blah, blah. And he said, oh, well, yeah, but you're not from Iran. And the guy said, yeah, I am. And Charlie was really surprised, going, what, you mean it's not the way they tell us in Iran? And he was really saying the question thing. So I think they took him out. But there's a lady who did a little bit of research into these anti-personnel devices, and she came up with some pretty interesting results. Have a listen to this.
Were our tax dollars used to assassinate Charlie Kirk? Hold on. I was sent this by a few people. Charlie Kirk was killed with a miniature explosive, likely made at Accurate Energetic Systems in Tennessee and purchased by the DoD for $425K in May of 2025. You can bet Steve Feinberg was involved in the planning of his public assassination. Well, I pulled all of Accurate Energy Systems contracts from usaspending.gov, and I found this one. This one, the address is in Tennessee. It is for miniature XS demolition devices, anti-personnel, SPM. That's what caught my attention. We're going to come back to that. The amount is $440,494. The procurement period, May of 2025 to August of 2025. So I went and looked up all other procurements because as somebody who has done DoD procurements before, that was a really odd amount of time. None of Accurate Energy Systems procurements were less than a year, except for this one, because that's not how they procure things. I went and did more digging. The contract was signed on April 22nd, 2025. A lot of weird things about this procurement. It was a simplified acquisition process, meaning did it quickly, and it was one bidder. They did not put it under any of the IDVs, which are the vehicles that they have for all the other hundreds of tens of millions of dollars that AES had with them. It gets worse. These devices are made for special operations forces, and the XS anti-personnel are tiny ones to kill people. They're put on people. If you want to get darker, Steve Feinberg, our deputy SecDev, well, his old company, Cerebus, owns the company, I forget the name of it, that trains the special operations forces on these detonation devices. He's the one who put protecting the blue and white country in his priorities as the same as protecting America. So you have a procurement that was signed April 22nd and started May 1st, ended August, for tiny devices to kill people. Forgot to mention that the plant that the address is at, well, it exploded a month after Charlie Kirk's assassination, and everyone in that plant died. No survivors. Correlation doesn't mean causality. I'm a big advocate of that. However, something doesn't smell right at all. So if someone knows more or can help me correct some of this or figure out what's going on, let me know, because it doesn't fucking look good.
What have you found there? Yeah, so I think she presents a pretty interesting case there, folks. And there was a lot of people speculating on this, and she's just offered some pretty good, albeit circumstantial, evidence to suggest that this may well have been the case. So yeah, perhaps, I think Stu Peters was looking into this. Perhaps, Stu, if you happen to catch this video, you could look into that possibility. Maybe contact that woman, or maybe go down some of those rabbit holes she was just providing you in that video clip. Might be interesting. But yeah, I mean, what can I say, folks? We're in a very, very crazy situation where the only way out of this war, the only way to protect the world energy supply is for the United States to capitulate to Iran's demands, because they're never going to be able to defeat Iran. They don't have the military power to do it, because military power, naval power, airstrikes, none of this matters in this type of war. $30 billion aircraft carriers can be brought down with a drone or a few speedboats, or with a missile. If there's no missile silos to bomb, then how do you stop the missiles being shot at you? If there's no military leader to take out and force into compliance, and each one of 31 different command centers has their own instructions and will not stop firing until their demands are met, then how do you stop this? Their goal, in the way they set this defense system up, was they knew that Zionism, the United States, controlled by Zionism, is going to attempt to one day take over their country and change who they are. And they're going to attempt to infect their country with the perversions, the usury, turn the place into Sodom and Gomorrah the way Tel Aviv is, and say it's progress. They could see this coming to their country, so they set up a defense system which will basically fight to the death. And they will fight to the very last man. They won't back down. Persians are like the Spartans. They won't back down. And the only way you can turn this machine off is for the United States to get out of the Persian Gulf and Israel to change their government and basically give the land back to the Palestinians, and for all people, all religions, to live there under one law as equal. That's what they want. They don't even want Israel gone. They just want Israelis, Christians, and Arabs to all live there with equal rights. There is no chosen people, chosen to be able to kill and shit on everybody else and take what you want and bomb and maim and pillage and destroy and do anything you want because it says in your religious book that you can. Fuck that shit. So they don't even want Israel gone. They just want equality for people. That's their demands. So that's why they want regime change in Israel. And if you do not come to the table and comply with our demands, then we will destroy you. We will simply not stop firing missiles until you're gone. If you don't allow equality for everyone, we will make sure there is none of you left there. And if you do not remove your US bases from the Persian Gulf We'll make sure there are no bases left. These bases cost trillions upon trillions of dollars and over 100 years to set up. Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu have just changed all that. The world power structure has now changed. It's not going back to the way it was. We have a chance to actually take down the deep state, which is basically what Iran is doing. You know, there's still people out there, Q-tards, saying this is Trump's doing, he's doing all this, so he's destroying the oil fields there, or the gas fields, because that means the United States is going to be the #1 supplier of gas. This is a great strategic move, great economic move. But people are still saying this shit. No. Trump is the deep state. They're all baby-eating pedophiles, okay? They rape, torture, kill, eat children. All of these Western governments. The Western governments themselves are the deep state. The deep state can't exist without these governments. Any government that has a system of usury in place, any government that won't allow freedom of speech, and I'm not saying the Iranian government's perfect by any means. I don't think any government's perfect. I think we'd be better off without government. But what Iran is doing is it is taking down the deep state. And the world power is now shifting. America is not going to maintain its place as the world reserve currency. They're simply not. And Trump has done his best to alienate every other country through his tenure. He's just shat all over Europe. He's shat all over everybody. Insulted everybody, saying he's this and he's that. No, he's a fucking pedophile is what he is. Egomaniacal, narcissistic pedophile with a trophy wife that he bought from Epstein, very likely. I mean, you know, and I'm not, maybe Melania's a nice person, I don't know. But, you know, it's not the way you think, and Trump is not the way you think. And he's such a narcissist that he might just say, well, no, I'm not going to surrender. And then the world's going to see how it all goes down, and then maybe someone will assassinate him. Or perhaps he will fake his own assassination the way perhaps Benjamin Netanyahu has, and they'll just both run off and they'll sit back and watch the world implode on itself. There was an article that came out in mainstream media a week or two ago discussing what would happen to Melania if Trump were to die in office. Just planting that little seed in the minds of people. So, okay, there's already been at least 2 or 3 assassination attempts, we're told, and there hasn't really been any. So perhaps they could actually get away with making there be a 4th one. I'm just going to pause this while this concrete truck goes past, folks. I think Jeff's having his, well, maybe I won't pause it. I think Jeff's having his driveway done. You see, a lot of the driveway is really cool. Like it's this sort of cobblestone sort of stuff going on. And I think he's having the rest of it done up near his house. I think this is a truckload of rocks or something. It's been taken up there for the driveway, but I'll just leave it for now. Yeah, truckload of gravel. Going very slowly. That's a big load of gravel. So yeah. And I don't know what I was talking about before that happened. But yeah, we're seeing a shift in power, is I think what I was saying. The world isn't going back to the way it was. Israel's done. It's toast. Unless they institute proper government that isn't a Zionist government and there are equal rights for everybody. Otherwise, Iran will just keep shooting missiles at it until it is renamed Palestine and is given back to the Palestinian refugees, the diaspora all around the world can go back there. Unfortunately, they'll be going back to a bomb zone, a war zone, a bombed out ruin. But I think that's better than what they had. And after what Israel's done to Gaza City, I mean, it's very hard to feel any sympathy for the people of Israel, the people of Tel Aviv. I mean, the fact that they're out there having viewing platforms and stuff to go and witness the carnage. A lot of them are really desperate now. They're trembling and shaking and really freaked out at what's happening to them because the missiles just don't stop.
יש פוסט-טראומטיים במדינה הזאת, והפוסט-טראומטיים לפעמים לא מצליחים לצאת, כי הם קופאים במקום. אני לא הצלחתי, סבבה? לא הצלחתי לצאת.
פתאום מתחילה הזעקה והכל, פתאום בום של החיים, פצצה, כל הלמטה של הבניין הלך. תשמעי, הלב שלי בבומים, אנחנו כאילו...
פחד אלוהים, אני נימולים בכל הגוף.
I mean, it's sad to see all that sort of stuff, but now they know what it's like being under an actual rocket attack, not just having water pipes powered with fertilizer being shot over the walls by Hamas, which is actually controlled by your government to create the concept that you are under constant attack. You know, the whole thing has been a theatre show. Israel's been a theatre show right from the beginning. They set Hamas up, and they had operatives within Hamas sending water pipes powered with fertilizer over the wall all the time. You see some of the old video footage, oh my God, we're under Hamas rocket attacking. Video up in the sky, you don't see any rockets at all. You know, they come, you know, maybe half a mile over the border, maybe a mile over the border, and they'll do damage if they come through your roof or they land your car, which is probably why they built the kibbutz where they did, because you had houses there which actually could be reached by these Qassam rockets, and occasionally you would have a rocket go through someone's car window or go through the roof of their house or perhaps land in the street and put a bit of a black patch on the street. Never actually put a hole in the street or anything though, they put a black patch on it. So I think that's one of the reasons they put the kibbutz where it was. So the people in Israel would think, oh yes, we were under rocket attack. I had one come through my roof yesterday, you know. No, they're not rockets. What Iran is sending towards you now are rockets. So, you know, it's kind of very sort of karmic that they're experiencing this now. But like I said, I don't wish death on anybody. But the whole world's cheering it on. No one wants to see Israel survive this, and I do not think Israel will survive this. We're watching the biggest real-time example of fuck around and find out that we've seen in modern history. And like I said, I don't think they expected it to go this way. I think they completely underestimated Iran's firepower. I thought they thought it was just going to be easy, like Afghanistan or Iraq or something like that. No. Iran's been preparing for this for a very, very long time. And whether they were in agreement with certain things to do with the smart grid, they certainly weren't in agreement with the financial system, and they certainly were not in agreement with what Israel's plans for the future were. So, you know, and now all the Epstein stuff's come out. They just view the West as a cesspool. You know, all this has done is make Islam stronger. It's crazy, you know. And like I said, I'm not even a religionist. All the stuff they're trying to do they're doing everything they can to try to get the people of Iran to rise up. And we'll give you weapons and we'll do this and we'll do that. They put sanctions under the country for 47 years, hopefully to make it so bad in the country that the people would rise up and overthrow their government. All it succeeded in doing was making them hate the West. You know, and now they're bombing the country. It's just succeeding in making them hate the West even more. They all want to see Israel completely wiped out. They don't have any sympathy for the Jewish people at all after what they've done, the Israeli people, or even the Americans after what they've done. And why would they? So all this has succeeded in doing is making Iran a lot stronger. And Iran's not going to back down in this war. There's only one way this war stops, and that's if the United States capitulates to Iran's demands. Like I said, I don't think it will. So how would be a way out of that? What would be the safe switch? Well, you fake the assassination of Donald Trump. You put in a new government that stops all this nonsense straight away and apologises. And then Israel goes back to the drawing board. You know, the Jews go back to the drawing board and they think, okay, well, that plan didn't work. Perhaps we need to formulate another way to take over the world. Who knows, folks? But brace for hard times. Brace for hard times, because if Trump doesn't fake his death, they don't fake his assassination, and the US government isn't replaced immediately, then this is just going to go on, which will mean the Straits of Hormuz will be closed for all traffic that is in alliance with the United States, which means Australia, England, and a lot of countries are going to have incredibly difficult times. They're all going to become the third world. Any country that sides with Iran is going to prosper. That's the way it could go. Unless they do what I just said and fake Trump's death and institute a new government. Who knows? Crazy times, folks, crazy times. We've known they're going to do this for such a long time, but like I said, I don't think this is going exactly the way they planned for it to go. But yeah, I was going to finish ages ago, so I'll finish there. I don't think there's anything on my list that I really need to talk about anyway. I've done a pretty full show without even getting to my list, so yeah, spare a thought for the people in Cuba. Yeah, and look at what's really going on here. That is something I wanted to mention, is that a lot of what Israel has done has been like a war on beauty. Have you noticed that? Like everything beautiful they want to destroy. Aleppo, Palmyra, all the stuff they've done. Perhaps even that church in Iran, who knows what they've done there. They destroy everything beautiful, all the old world, and they create all of this disgraceful steel and glass rubbish, horrible stuff. And yeah, war on beauty. This girl kind of noticed that as well.
I don't think there has been more effective or destructive a tool in the war on beauty than actual war. In Tehran, Golestan Palace, which was the former palace of Iranian royals and is currently a UNESCO World Heritage Site, was just hit by Israeli airstrikes. So UNESCO said in their statement addressing this airstrike, quote, "Cultural property is protected under international law and the 1954 Hague Convention." And just this week, one of the most magnificent mosques in the whole entire world, which is located in Isfahan, which is a historic city in Iran, and again, apologies on pronunciation, but it was also damaged by airstrikes. And this is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and this mosque was built over the span of 12 centuries. It is, quote, "the oldest preserved edifice of its type in Iran and a prototype for later mosques throughout Central Asia," according to UNESCO. In preparation for this video, I wanted to learn more about this mosque in Isfahan, and so I tried to click on this article from the Tehran Times, and it would not let me click on it. I just kept getting a 404 error page. I think it was just a tourist type article, you know, here's our amazing mosque in Iran. Could not click on it. And so I tried a few different ways. I even Googled Tehran Times on Google, and it wouldn't let me access the page. There was even confirmed damage at 5 prehistoric caves and a rock shelter dating back to 63,000 BC. So again, not just Iranian history or Gazan history or Lebanese history, this is human history being destroyed. I think there's this thing now with so much war, division, left, right, these people, that people. There's such a tendency to dehumanize and say this side is barbaric and underdeveloped and not civilized, when that just could not be further from the truth. These buildings belong to everyone. They belong to me. They belong to you. They belong to the people in the country that they're in. They belong to humankind.
So yeah. Interesting times, folks, interesting times. Look, I hope all you people, you preppers out there, are good and prepped. I really do. And, I mean, there has been a lot of, apparently, defections and mutinies in the US military as well. A lot of people don't want to do this. They don't want to know about it. They know this war is wrong. As I said on previous videos, if you're in the military, quit. If you're out there in a battleship, mutiny. Take over the ship, go home, protect your people, protect your country. Get rid of this Zionist coup that has happened in your country, because there has been a coup. It's been completely taken over by Israel, and people need to pay attention to that. get rid of these little parasites like Lindsey Graham.
So I just want to say I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes. Trump is my favorite president. We've run out of bombs. We didn't run out of bombs in World War II.
Yeah, what a fucking dweeb that guy is. But anyway, folks, I'll leave it there for now. Thank you to anybody, whoever shares all this information. Thank you to the people who make small clips out of these videos and post them all over TikTok and the stuff that you do. I appreciate you helping get the word out to people. Thank you to anybody speaking out, anyone on the front line. Thank you to anybody. I mean, we knew this was coming. Stay strong. I mean, this is our time. We got this if we really stay focused through this. We knew the system was going to collapse. We've been preparing for it for a long time. All you've got to do now is ride the wave and get through to the other side. I don't think there's too much of a way to stop this, barring any of the scenarios I just outlined for you. But hey, you know, I think whatever comes through the other side of this, I think it's going to be a good thing. So don't lose too much faith. Don't go into fear too much. I mean, it's a pretty crazy world. There's a lot of weird stuff happening, but don't go into fear. Believe in yourself. I mean, this is what you came here for. And thank you for coming here, and thank you for standing up, and thank you for speaking out, all the people that do. Thank you to all the people who send me so many kind emails. Again, my nephew's doing treatments with the Tesla machine as well. Thank you to all the people that have gone to see him. And thank you to those that have left messages with him that have got back to me that have been very kind messages, and I really appreciate that. There is a lady in Melbourne, I believe, who has a Tesla machine as well, who reached out to me a couple of months ago and said anybody in Melbourne would want to go and see her, they can. I've neglected to mention it, I've just been so busy. But I think she's in Melbourne. So anybody who's in Melbourne, there is a lady in Victoria who has a machine as well. She's happy to have you come around and use it, work out whatever it is with her, I don't know. And yeah, so thank you for that. Thank you to anybody who sent me kind emails, and thank you to all the interview requests and stuff. I did an interview with SGT Report today, which should be posted probably today or tomorrow, probably around the same time as this video gets posted. I've got another interview with someone tomorrow. I've got a couple coming up over the next few weeks, so thank you for that. And of course, thank you to anybody who's ever made a contribution to the website. Times are pretty hard, folks, and I know that. So I doubly appreciate anybody who does, anybody who has, anybody who can. Because it is the only thing that has kept this message on air for so long now. Who knows whether I'm going to be able to get to Liverpoolco, but if I can, well, you can get tickets for Liverpoolco as well, to be held in Serbia or at Liberland in August, I think, August 15th to 17th or 14th to 17th, something like that. And you can get tickets. You'll find a link below to the Acapulco website. I think you can get tickets for Liverpoolco there. That's if the world is still functional in August and people can still get fuel for aircraft and stuff like that. I mean, who knows where we're going to go from this point, folks. So you can get tickets for that. And of course, thank you, like I said, to anybody who's ever made a contribution. If you can get to Liberland, if I can get to Liberland, I'll look forward to seeing you there. If not, well, I will look forward to seeing you on the next video that I do. Thank you for letting me just ramble my thoughts today as well. I didn't really have anything that I got to on the list, but I think it's important to step back and try to look at the bigger picture of what's happening here. Don't be too conspiratorial about it, but don't be too organic about it either. Like, don't think this is all an organic thing that just happened, because it didn't. It's completely planned. But I think, as I said before, I don't think everybody is involved. I don't think the people of Iran, the leadership of Iran, has any respect for Western values at all because of what the West has done. You might find Putin and China, I mean, they've got taxation and they've got stuff like that, and they're probably pretty well involved. You see, Chabad Lubavitch people in China, you see them in Russia, but you don't see a lot of that in Iran. I think Iran is a bit of a wild card. Perhaps a little naive in thinking that perhaps nuclear weapons are real, perhaps they believe that. Perhaps they believe that China and Russia would make good allies when in fact they wouldn't. And were they to ally with Russia and China to destroy the West, they'll simply be fulfilling the whole Hubbard-Lubavitch prophecy that they want anyway. So whether China and Russia can see that, I think they can. But whether Iran can see that is another question. I don't think they're the right people they should be allying themselves with. In fact, as much as I don't like death and destruction and war, I think the approach they've got at the moment, Joe, just having an endless supply of thousands upon thousands of missiles and secret bases and saying, well, we're just going to keep bombing Israel and US bases until you capitulate, is actually the best strategy they've got. And I think it will work, because what do you do against that? What do you do against 31 different control centers, each operating independently, with a mandate to defend their country down to the last missile? What do you do against that? You can't really take it out, it's just going to keep going. And if they're hitting all your bases and they're destroying Israel in the process, well, what's the point of staying there? What's the point of keeping the war going? Well, we don't have any bases in the Middle East anymore. We're obviously not defending Israel because Israel's gone. And what are we doing? What are we doing there? So, like I said, how do you get out of this situation? It's a no-win situation for the United States. The only way they can get out of it, I would suggest, is to fake Trump's assassination and claim they're replacing him with a new government and apologizing for what Trump did and offering $500 billion in compensation to Iran like they were asked to do, and saying, sorry, we won't let it happen again. That I can see is the only way out. But even if they do that, then they're just going to be another country. They've lost their position as the world superpower through this, because no one's going to want to touch the US dollar anymore. No one's going to want to have America leading the world and having the American way of doing things anymore. It's over for Israel and the United States, most certainly for Israel. It's over. Yeah. Interesting times, folks. Interesting times. Yeah. Huh. Anyway, I'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Please do check out that documentary that I showed you in the middle of the talk. Tell you about what it was like, the dungeons of the Shah. I'll put a link to that below. It's pretty freaky. And you think this is who they're trying to reinstate into Iran now. You can see why the people have created the defense system they've created and why they're not backing down. They will teach the world not to attack Iran. And they won't stop fighting until they have removed any possibility of an attack happening like this again, which is why Israel must be demolished and completely new regime put in place in Israel. Must be equal rights for all people within those borders, and every US base in the Middle East must be gone. Any base that is in a position that it can attack Iran from must be gone before Iran will stop its response. And with all these hidden missiles in the desert, hypersonic missiles, and they've only just started. They haven't even began to break into their arsenal yet. I mean, this is a game changer. Who would have thought that it would be Iran who actually was the one to bring down the deep state? Yeah, trust the plan. Anyway, folks, I'll leave it there for now. Thank you for joining me on this report. I'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Please take very good care until then. In Lakesh.
100 years of oppression in 60 seconds. boycotting until Palestine is free.
Tel Aviv, this is what you get for all your evil deeds. You were mocking the kids, but now you're getting hit. Iranian missiles have your entire skyline lit, and you cry victim and say you didn't start this, but the whole world sees that your lies are distorted. Now you feel terror like the Palestinians. How does it feel to have bombs dropped on your civilians? Yo, you could have avoided all this if you wanted to, but humanity never expected good behavior from you. Choose. It's your time to bleed. No one believed they would strike so deep, not Tel Aviv. But in the dead of night with no warning, the sky is lit up. The world watched in celebration as the Iron Dome cracked. And in that moment, the balance of power began to shift.